All right, hello to anyone who's here, or hello to anyone who will see this after the live is over. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to all the new people who have subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much, and certainly thanks to all the people who have been here since the start. I do so appreciate you. And oh, hi, Sharon Saib. I had you as a moderator. I'm not sure why it's not showing like that, unless I got the wrong Sharon Saib. I did try to put you into that list, so maybe I'll have to go back and fix it. I thought I'd done it right, but I won't be able to fix it at this moment. Anyway, I'm just going to read a little story because it's faster to just read it than to do all the art. And I promise to do all the art for another story sometime soon. This is a vignette on love, commitment, and friendship. So here I go. I wonder if you remember Mrs. Grant. I never knew her first name. Mama used to send us to visit Mrs. Grant from time to time. I think she would send us with packages of things for her. I think when Mama sent us to visit Mrs. Grant, it was to take things to her, mainly things that grew on the land we lived on, mangoes and breadfruit, akis or avocados, things like that. I could be wrong, but I think Mrs. Grant would send back sweet things like cupcake. Well, cupcake is that confection of coconut diced up and boiled slowly for a very long time in ginger and cane sugar until it became a thick, treacly mass. Then the mixture would be spooned out onto a banana leaf or wax paper to cool. I used to like cupcake. I remember that a few times we went with Mama to Mrs. Grant. It wasn't a long walk from where we lived, but it was definitely not in our neighborhood. Still, a number of times she just sent us. Now, Mrs. Grant lived in a decent house. I think for some reason the front was not open. Her house didn't have a veranda like most houses. It had a closed-in front porch. So we would enter her house on the side away from the street. She had a nice size side yard. The back porch was not closed, but it still had lattice-type woodworking to frame it, painted green. Mrs. Grant called her husband Pops. Mrs. Grant was a brown woman, and Pops was white. Pops was bedridden, so whenever we saw him, he was always in his room, in his bed. I don't think I ever saw Pops sitting up, even in his bed. Pop's room smelled of old people. I never saw Mrs. Grant's room. Now, Mrs. Grant had a grandson. His name was Johnny. Johnny was not talkative, but he seemed pleasant enough in an ordinary kind of way. When you are young, old people seem really old. Mrs. Grant seemed old, and Pops seemed older. Maybe Johnny was older than I was, but I don't really know. Although we were both children, we did not socialize the way young people do. Maybe it was because Johnny only had old people for company and didn't know what to do with those around his own age. Another thing I remember about Johnny is that whenever we visited, he was always dressed in his school uniform type of khaki clothing. He was clean and neat, but not too neat. One thing I remember about Johnny is that he was not carefree, not the way a person of 8 or 9 or 10 might be. Not that he was so serious, just not carefree. I may have seen him smile at least once, maybe. Mrs. Grant had a lower set of teeth, but I don't remember her having uppers. Pops had a few teeth. He always greeted us very kindly when we visited. We had to speak up because he was also hard of hearing. Mrs. Grant would introduce us every time. "It's Aunt Doll's granddaughter," she would say loudly enough for Pops to hear. And every time he would respond with, "Hey?" Then Mrs. Grant would repeat the same information a few times until it registered with her husband. Pops would extend his hand and would shake my hand and say, "Howdy do," and some pleasantries in a mumbly old man voice. When Mama sent us instead of coming along, he would ask how she was, and we would say, "Fine, fine," because I didn't know what else to add. Then Mrs. Grant would report to Pops what we had brought to them from Aunt Doll. And Pops would say words like, "God bless Aunt Doll." He would ask about other family members as well, my aunt, my father, and so on. These visits to the Grants were mundane, a social duty put on us by our grandmother, but it's kind of funny, the vignettes that linger in the memory decades on. There is another now in my close circle who is like Pops, a captive of the fragile state of his health. He has been frail for decades. His wife today is yesterday's Mrs. Grant. His son, now a middle-aged man, stands in the place where Johnny stood generations ago, an in-home assistant to his mother for the sake of his father. What does the love and care of a family look like? The body demands care. If it does not receive it, it will respond out of lack of care. There's the reading. Thanks, Sharon Sight, for hanging around. So now I'm going to do what you said, hit my name on chat. Okay. And no, it says no. Hit my name on chat. I'm not sure. I'm trying to do that. Let's see. Oh, over here. Pin report. Add user on this. Oh, I see it. Okay. I've done it. I've added you as a moderator. Although it hasn't changed. I haven't seen. Let me try that again. No. All right. Well, you are a moderator now, Sharon Sight. Thank you for always being such a good supporter. And let's see what else. Well, I've done the live stream, so happy listening, everyone. And thank you all thank you for all the new people who have joined, who have come on board. And I look forward to sharing more stories with you. So that's it for today. I'll be back. Have a good evening, morning, afternoon. See you again. Thanks for coming by.